Hello, and welcome back to RPG Quest, the podcast where we do not play D&D. And once again, we're going to be jumping into Call of Cthulhu with a brand new scenario, a little extra Call of Cthulhu for you, and a brand new cast. My name is Chris, your humble host and game master, but as always, the real stars of the show are our valorous investigators. Say hello, investigators.
Yo.
Hi.
So for this adventure, we have a new face joining us, Nicole, and a familiar face from our previous Call of Cthulhu scenario, Detective Jack Cassidy, also known as Brendan to some. So, Brendan, I ran a little one-on-one Cthulhu investigation with you set in 1920s New Orleans, but I personally didn't think that just like one adventure alone is enough to kind of capture and show off the breadth of the Call of Cthulhu system. So today, we're going to play a modern scenario set in current-day Cleveland, Ohio, called Ladybug, Fly Away Home. It's part of what I think is a pretty fantastic anthology of modern scenarios called The Things We Leave Behind. It's full of great short adventures by some wonderful writers, which you can check out if you want to for yourselves. You can find it on drivethrurpg.com. But first, Nicole, hello, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So I wanted to ask, first of all, like, what is your experience with Call of Cthulhu?
0.
Awesome. Perfect. And how did you find, just getting started and making a character and everything?
Look, I will have to say I had to do some reading. It was a little different to what I've been kind of playing at the moment, which is things like Blades in the Dark, and it's it was a little bit more stats heavy, I guess, but I think it makes sense once you get into it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of points to sort of go through and allocate, but I guess the thing that I like about it is, compared to other systems, is you don't kind of have to learn new concepts. Like there's not like crazy feats that say, if this, do this, you can use these points to do this. It's just, build a character and add the stats where you think they should go, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it seems pretty straightforward. I think once you get past that initial, like, whoa, there's a lot of numbers here.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, we're actually going to do character introductions in-game when we get started. So I think if everyone's good, I'm just going to jump right into it.
Oh, yeah. Let's roll.
Yep.
Let's roll. Okay, so we're going to start a little differently with some theme music. I want you guys to imagine this like a dark detective TV show.
Give me the ring.
So this would be where, we see the opening credits. It's current day Cleveland, Ohio. We see shots of the city skyline pressed against the shore of the Great Lake Erie, which is absolutely massive. We see highways, concrete and traffic. Before the camera moves over to the suburbs, we see some Victorian-style homes, American flags flapping in the front yard, cloudy skies. We see, a foggy night as rain sort of begins to set in. We cut to a small wooden chapel where we see a young priest who appears to be kind of angrily delivering a sermon to a small crowd. And we see other shots of Cleveland, the dilapidated houses, the abandoned factories. And as the sun sets, we also see, police cars patrolling the streets, shots of the police making arrest, even some police tape up, maybe another shooting perhaps. And then the camera pans over to a big box store. We see a parking lot, a few cars parked outside, and then we see people running out of the store into the parking lot, screaming, before finally the music cuts and we hear a single gunshot ring out. So we're going to cut away now to a different scene, a different part of Cleveland. It's about 6:30 p.m. on a Thursday evening as we cut to the interior of a one-bedroom apartment. Nicole, would you like to introduce your character, describe their apartment, maybe tell me what they're up to this Thursday evening?
All right. So you're going to see Theodora Bloom, or Theo as she prefers. probably sitting at her desk doing work. Theo is a woman in her late 30s. She's kind of medium height, kind of medium build, like pretty fit. She has dark brown hair that she wears in a short, slightly wavy bob. And your first impressions of her would be normally that she's, got a kind face. She's generally approachable, but there's a fair bit of intensity behind her big green eyes if you take a closer look. She's probably got her typical, leather brown jacket, strung over a chair, and she's sitting there perusing, case files for the day. The apartment itself, pretty bare. It might be, you could say that she's going for a minimalist style, but it just kind of looks like she maybe hasn't unpacked from when she moved in, which was months ago. And that's Theo.
Great. As we see Theo sitting down on the desk with a work laptop open, next to the laptop on the table, your phone rings, your work mobile, a black Samsung, as it begins to vibrate on the table, and the name of the caller ID comes up. It says Lucy Bates, who is your boss at the FBI, the head of the Missing and Exploited Children's Unit.
I'm going to answer that.
Yeah, of course. You hear the voice on the other line. It says, Theo, listen, I really need you. Something really important has come up. A new assignment. How quickly can you be ready?
Theo probably just looks to the jacket on her chair and says, I'll be there in 10.
Great, I'm coming to pick you up.
Oh, sure. Is everything all right?
Yeah, I'll explain on the way. And she hangs up.
Okay.
And after about 10 minutes, there's a honking out the front of your apartment.
Yeah. Grabbing the jacket and the rest of my, kit, I will head downstairs.
Yeah. It's probably about 7 p.m. as the sun has just started to set, and grey storm clouds and the rain has set in. Lucy opens the passenger door of her black car parked right out front. She says, get in.
Yeah, take a seat.
And, she begins to drive. And she says, so, little girl, about 5 years old, Caucasian, abducted in plain sight from a shopping centre while in the company of her mother. Was caught on tape. I only have some stills for now and a profile of the parents. Actually, she throws a folder which lands onto your lap. And she says, funnily enough, they have a file with the FBI. So the folder that she threw onto your lap contains a photo. Appears to be like a still from a security cam showing a man and a woman in a tussle over a backpack. And then, of course, a small file on the family themselves, which you can read through now.
Theo's probably just going to jump in and start doing that.
Of course. Would you like me to read the file for you, or were you happy to read it out?
Oh, I can read it out. Just the dot points?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so it says the Balfours are on an FBI radicals domestic terrorist watch list. They are the leaders of a fringe religious movement known as the Church of the Passover Angel. They run a website that is highly critical of the US government, calling it the head of the false serpent. They advocate the government's non-violent overthrow and replace with a fundamentalist theocracy following God's law and that of his herald, the Passover Angel. The Balfours have been suspected for years of possessing and stockpiling illegal firearms, up to and including machine guns and bombs, but repeated Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms investigations have turned up nothing. What are we dealing with here, boss?
Well, I mean, look, we've just got to find this little girl. But, let's not get too sidetracked, but it's just perhaps good to know. They also have a website, if you want to take a look. Found it a little strange. I'd like to know what you make of it. And yeah, you see, there is a little URL there as well, which you can look up on your phone, which is the webpage for the Church of the Passover Angel. It's quite interesting as you click through. There's a strange little pixel graphic of frogs sort of hopping and falling all over the page. And the main part of the landing page says, "The angel cometh, 5 days." And there's a sort of a timer counting down the days, hours, and minutes. And then underneath the timer it says, "For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Now is the time to get right with God, before it's too late." It's almost like a countdown timer to the day, well, I guess the day of judgment, the end of the world.
Yeah, this is all pretty concerning for Theo. She's not really sure what to make of it. So I'm gonna look back to the boss and just shake my head and say, "Has anyone spoken to the family yet?"
I mean, I assume they're going to be at the police station when we get there. You can check out the camera footage, maybe speak to the family. Seems like the police haven't identified our perp here either. But we've put this photo out to all the channels, so hopefully we'll hear something back soon. Apparently there was a second perp in a getaway car, so the locals and state police should be all over that. But yeah, this website's pretty strange. And perhaps at that point is where Lucy's car finally pulls up out the front of Cleveland Police Department, and she says, "Okay, we're here. You ready, Theo?"
Yeah, sure.
We're going to cut away now to another part of Ohio, just a few minutes south, over in Akron, to a little place called Spins Bowl. Very different atmosphere. It's a lively Thursday evening. We see kids, families, couples. Bowling is the typical bowling music sort of playing over the speakers above the lanes. And over in the corner lane, we see a huddled group of about 7 or 8 middle-aged men. Blokes, quite larger gentlemen. They're drinking beers, laughing. They all have the appearance of cops or former cops. And amongst them is, Brendan, would you like to describe your character, please?
Yeah, Frank is a little larger than average. I mean, like mid-range, maybe 6'3", 6'4". Like, he's a fairly large guy. At one point athletic, but in his 50s, he's, stopped working out and he doesn't do much field work, so he's getting to be fairly husky. His hair has gone gray, and he kind of looks tired as he, necks a bottle of PBR. And even though he's smiling and joking around with the guys while he's bowling, he's got that look in his eyes, like he's kind of somewhere else, essentially, mentally. He's not even really in the moment, but he's trying to enjoy it.
Yeah, perhaps you're tuning out for a moment, kind of staring off into the distance, and you hear a voice cut through. It's like, "Hey, it's your bowl, Super Cup."
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Get up and go up to the lane. He's not a very good bowler. It's just a hobby. so maybe he hits 4 pins or something.
Well, let's see. Let's do the first roll of the game. Maybe make
all right,
a throw check for me.
Yeah, that's a 66 versus 20, a fail.
That is a fail. Yeah, as you're kind of distracted, you get up and just throw the ball, toss the ball down the lane. It maybe knocks down 2 pins before falling into the gutter. A few people laugh and applaud. "Hey, nicely done."
Yeah, well, I'm the best. Takes the second roll, which I'm sure, probably at this point intentionally, he just, gutters it and goes back to drinking his beer.
At that moment, Bosco, as everyone's laughing at you, and another one of your buddies gets up to take the ball, you feel your phone vibrating. A message, and it seems to be, pinging like crazy, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he steps to the side where it's a little bit quieter and pops out his phone. Is it a text or is it a phone call?
It's actually Telegram. It's one of your ATF channels that you're still involved in, and it's pinging like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he'll check it out.
Yeah, as you open it up, you see that there are a couple of photos being shared around. They look like stills from a security cam, and you're tagged in one of the messages. That's why your phone started pinging. One of the messages, like after the photo was shared around, says, just come in from the FBI. Someone else said kidnapping, and then someone else writes, in Beechwood, Ohio. And then, yeah, it says, isn't tag Bosco in Ohio, ? And the image, as you scroll up, shows a man, mid-50s, wearing a hat and sunglasses. Hard to make out exactly who it is, but he's fighting with a woman over a child's Ladybug backpack. And then there's another photo. The same man, it appears to be only a few minutes earlier, based on the time code on the security footage, dragging a little girl, about 5 years old, out of the store. Another message pops up from someone else from the ATF saying, that looks like George Lewinston, ... Now, Bosco, you remember George Lewinston. You actually worked together in the ATF. He specialized in far-right domestic terrorism. And as you look at this photo, this camera still, it definitely kind of looks like him.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, Bosco recognizes it almost immediately. Sits down, finishes his beer, and he'll send a message back. Yeah, I'm in Ohio. I'll check it out. That's him.
Someone messages you back, you should call Cleveland PD.
Before I do that, which I'll definitely do, I go back to like the boys I've been building with. All right, guys, called away. Work never ends. Y'all have a good night. And toss down some cash to cover the next round of beers.
Yeah. One of the guys says, good luck saving the world, Super Cop.
Yeah. Go outside before I make the phone call.
Beautiful. We'll cut away there. As Theo, you and Lucy, under the heavy rain, enter the Cleveland police station. It's about 7:30 on Thursday evening, maybe 7:45. It's busy and chaotic as you walk in through the front doors, and this pudgy uniformed officer approaches you. So, hey, yeah, can I help you?
I guess that's when we pull out our badges, right?
Sure, yeah. As you do, as you reach in, you and Lucy both pull out your FBI badges. He says, oh shit, yeah. Captain McNatt is giving a briefing right now. And he gestures towards the briefing room. It's got the glass walls. You can see this silver-haired, slim woman standing in front of about 15, 20 officers. She seems to have a projector on. She's going through some slides.
Well, seems like it's worth sticking our head in.
Yeah, of course. You and Lucy approach the briefing room, and this older woman with the short grey hair, she's wearing the captain's uniform. She notices you and she says, okay. Looks like our friends from the FBI have just joined us in time. We're just going over the facts. This is Agent Lucy Bates, CART team. She's in charge of the investigation. She looks at across all the faces. She says, what she says to any of you at any time goes. You got that? Same goes for her field agent. She looks at you. Bloom, got it. Take a seat. And she gestures to some seats right at the front of this room.
Yeah, take a seat.
And she says, so as I was just saying, we have Regina Balfour, little girl, 5 years old. The slide pulls up a photo of this young girl, blonde hair. She was abducted at 6:30 p.m. today while in the company of her mother, Sarah. The abduction occurred in the Bed Bath & Beyond in Beechwood. Our kidnapper, she clicks a little slide and it shows the security still of this man. You see now is wearing a hat, sunglasses, and what appears to be like a fake moustache. And he's got like an awful dye job on the hair. She says, our kidnapper, Caucasian, male, takes a little girl to a car waiting out back. This one here. She clicks the projector over to a security camera that looks over the back of the store from the outside. And you see a picture of like a tanned colored sedan. She says, Ford Model Taurus, tan. The car speeds off. We didn't catch the license plate, but this is what I need from all of you, okay? There's an Amber Alert out right now for that car, for that little girl. Number one priority. All of you get out there. Eyes on the car, find that little girl. okay? Make sure it does not leave the city. Make sure it does not leave the state, okay? Let's go. Come on, people. And she sort of claps and begins to dismiss everyone from the room before walking over to you, Theo, and to Lucy. And she says, Bates, Bloom, lovely to meet you, and extends a hand.
I shake it, likewise.
She says, all right, come with me then, please. And she begins leading you out of the briefing room and to another office. And, as she's leading you through the police station, she says, listen, I want to show you the full security footage, okay? See what you guys make of it.
There's more than what the rest of the department's seen?
Oh, some of the detectives have seen it, but uniform officers, we just need them out there finding that car. It's a little, interesting.
All right, then.
We're probably going to cut quickly away now to just outside the police station, because this is the point where we see the figure of Frank Bosco walking through the rain up the stairs towards the front door.
Yeah, like Frank is not particularly good with people, and he always kind of feels like he belongs wherever he decides to be. So as he walks in, he'll immediately pull out ATF badge and flash it to whatever officer is working the desk. And mention the ongoing investigation that's just started. I know there's task force in here somewhere. I'd like to be on it as representative of the ATF. Can you flag them for me or show me the way?
You actually recognize the officer, because you've done some consulting work for the Cleveland police before. The uniformed officer agrees to you. He's like, hey, yeah, Frank, of course. A bit wet out, huh?
Yeah, well, classic Cleveland night.
Listen, you want to speak to McNatt? She's in her office right now with the FBI. Come on. And, Theo, as the three of you, Lucy Bates, Kim McNatt, and yourself, go to sit in this office, McNatt's office. As she's pulling something up on the computer, there's a knock at the office door. And you see this uniformed officer and this other, gruff and wet-looking older man standing beside him. And McNatt stands up. Says, Frank.
Yeah, how you been? Got a flag through the ATF?
Yeah, been better. Listen, come in. This is FBI Agent Bates and Agent Bloom. This is Frank Bosco, former ATF. He's a consultant.
Yeah, offer a hand to each of them.
Yeah, I stand and shake.
And Lucy Bates stands up and shakes your hand as well. And Kim McNatt says, listen, I heard you know something about our abductor?
Yeah, well, we were... I don't know if partners is the right term, but essentially partners at one point. Patch me in on this. What do you know?
Well, we're just about to go over the footage now if you want to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold up, are you saying the suspect is ex-ATF?
Well, from what I saw, it's definitely George. And yeah, he was ATF.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot like a bit of a concerned look to Lucy, but I won't say anything else.
Yeah, Lucy shares a similar look. Raised eyebrow, and then McNatt is typing away on her computer and pulls up this video footage. He turns the monitor around to all of you, the whole abduction was caught on videotape. The tape that she shows you shows a large, older Caucasian man in a baseball hat, sunglasses, walk brazenly and with purpose up to this shopping cart. He tases the mother with a hidden stun gun, grabs the little girl out of the cart, and walks quickly for the exit. He momentarily leaves the camera range, but then comes back into range, still carrying the girl, and tries to retrieve a backpack that had been sitting next to Regina in the shopping cart. The backpack is shaped like a stuffed animal ladybug. Regina's mother, Sarah Balfour, manages to rouse herself enough to grab onto the ladybug backpack, and then there's this brief tug of war that ensues. The abductor kicks Sarah in the face, but then lets the backpack go as this bystander tries to intervene. The man then flees out of camera range with Regina, and a security guard runs through the frame about 10 seconds later in pursuit. Kid McNatt flicks over to a second video, which shows a second security camera at the exit of the store, which shows a little more. It shows the abductor knocking over a uniformed greeter with Regina, who's obviously struggling and screaming. He throws Regina into the back seat of this waiting car, this Ford Taurus, which then speeds off. The abductor then pulls out a handgun and marches back into the store, shooting a greeter in the kneecap as he does. And then he can be seen on several different video feeds thereafter. Basically, he wanders through the store, gun in hand, toppling displays, brandishing his firearm at customers, and generally causing a panic. Shoppers all stampede towards the exit. And then, after everyone leaves, he spends about 30 minutes just sitting in the store until a SWAT team arrives. You can see the red and blue light, lighting up the store from the outside. And then a SWAT team and heavily armed policemen wearing body armor appear in camera range. And as soon as this man sees them, the abductor, he pulls the gun up to his chin and promptly shoots himself in the head. I would like all of you to roll sanity, please.
6 versus 40 extreme success.
Yeah, it's a 5 versus 50, which is also an extreme success.
Ooh. All right, nice done. You guys have seen some stuff. This doesn't disturb you at all. Yeah, Kim McNatt stops the footage at that point and looks up at you all and says, "So what do you make of that? Pretty fucked up."
To clarify, the guy who just shot himself, is that George or is it the guy who was driving off?
That was George. Someone else. The camera footage didn't make out the person in the car or the car license plate. You've just sort of got the model and the make of the car. So George threw the girl. He abducted the girl. It looked like he went back for this backpack. Couldn't get it. Then went back outside, threw the girl in the car, walked in, created this huge ruckus, and then killed himself.
Yeah, knowing the relationship there, I'm just going to wait to see what Bosco's reaction to all this is.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of an extreme success there, like, he's not shaken by the actual act itself. More just takes a minute and says, well, I mean, George has always been a little different, but this is not, I wouldn't believe it. What is those things they do these days? Are you sure this isn't a deep fake?
This is straight from the feeds.
Well, I don't know what could have driven him to act this way. I mean, we've worked on the same kind of cases. He dealt with survivalists and militia groups, but he had a family.
So,
yeah.
You sure this is our guy? Your guy? George Lewinston?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to see what would drive him to this, but that is him.
Right. Listen, we got the body over in the morgue. Should you want to check it out, maybe ID him. Yeah, maybe you guys do that. I'm going to update the perp ID. Maybe we can get some cars over to George's house, see what the hell's going on.
Has anyone contacted his daughter?
Not yet. We wanted to be sure it was him first.
Yeah, his daughter needs to be notified if it's him. She's probably better to identify him than I am. I believe she lives in Cleveland.
Kim McNatt nods and says, good. Lucy says, yeah, maybe she can answer some questions. Maybe she knows something. And Kim McNatt looks at Lucy and says, all right, we're going to update the perp ID. Lucy, come with me. And she leaves the two of you, Bosco and Theo, to head over to the morgue, should you like.
I guess Bosco kind of looks over at Theo, and he's a gruff old bastard, and Theo's a little bit younger. It kind of gives the eye, like, well, what do you think about this?
So Theo's probably looking back to the tape, and it's just like there's something that's bothering her. And she's just, and it might almost seem a little bit strange or callous to be kind of focusing on this kind of detail, especially with what Bosco's just seen, but she's just going to be shaking her head and saying, why would he go back for the bag?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Why would he go back?
Yeah, he really put himself at risk doing that.
Look, I agree, we should head over to the morgue, but I think it's worth following this up afterwards. I want to know what's in that bag.
Yeah, the bag. I didn't even think about the bag. It's a good call, though. He did come back for it.
So, one of the uniformed officers leads you two over to the morgue, which is just in an adjacent building on the same lot. You just have to brave the rain for a few legs as you head over there and down into the building. The mortician is this, I guess, sweet and kind-looking older man by the name of Dr. Shannon. And yeah, he pulls the body out of the freezer. And Bosco, as you look down on the frozen corpse now without the hat, without the sunglasses, despite the hair being dyed or like bleached, in a bad dye job, you're now certain that it's George Lewinston.
Yeah, I mean, considering the way he took himself out, it's probably not a facial recognition so much as like, I mean, we were in pretty dangerous situations together, so I guess Bosco kind of points at a circular scar near the shoulder on his collarbone. Is like, oh yeah, that's him. He took that shot for me. Then kind of turns away.
The mortician kind of just pushes on, kind of tries not to acknowledge your emotions. He just says, yeah, pretty straightforward. Died to a bullet wound to the head, self-inflicted. By all other accounts, a healthy man. Bit of fatty tissue build-up around the liver, probably drinking. That's about it. You see, sort of pointing out to different parts of the body with this pen, getting real close. He points to George Lewinston's face. The exit wound's in the back of the head, so his face is still kind of recognizable. He says, his upper lip, red and raw, from probably household glue, had a fake mustache glued to it. But here's where things get interesting. And he points with his pen to his fingers, and they look burnt out, like scarred. And he says, he had recently obscured his fingerprints.
Oh, yeah.
Some kind of caustic acid, most likely.
Interesting. You get toxicology back? Was he on something?
No. Blood alcohol, higher than 0, but not in a dangerous limit. Probably had 1 or 2 drinks, that's about it.
Yeah, well, that's a false start. We all drink. No drugs. Burn his fingerprints off. Like, I guess at this point, Frank has gone back to the job. He's going to ignore who this is and kind of look at the hands. Anything else? Look back at the corner. Anything else out of the ordinary? I mean, if you burn off his fingerprints, it's him, but what? I mean, why would he dip his hands in lye, The
mortician shrugs and says, I'm not a detective.
Glance over at Thea. What do you think, rookie?
I'll raise an eyebrow at that. But, go back, spend a moment looking over the evidence. It's pretty clear he wanted to make it harder to identify himself. Did he know that you were in town?
Oh, we haven't spoken in years. I doubt it. I mean, I'm up and down the East Coast consulting. What's strange is, well, alright, he scoured his fingerprints off, but he made a point of executing himself on camera, disguise or not. There's no way he thought he wouldn't be identified. So it has to be before that, right? Like, it has to be something else.
The mortician pipes up at that point and says, oh, yeah, from the scarring, this was done days ago.
I mean, anything else? Tattoos? I mean, to my knowledge, he only had the one from when he was in the Marines. Like, any other strange marks? Has he been branded? I mean, if he wasn't on drugs, we can safely assume maybe he was indoctrinated or brainwashed. Maybe it's mental illness. But if he was indoctrinated by somebody and he burned off his fingertips, perhaps he's branded or tattooed.
He raises an eyebrow and says, oh, yeah, no, there was a tattoo. He turns the body over slightly, and you see on his back left shoulder.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there it is.
It looks like a star, a 5-pointed star, with an eye in the center of it. A strange sign.
Yeah, Bosco's a little bit more old school. Instead of, like, taking a photo of it, he's gonna bust out his notebook and, like, sketch it real quick. And write a note of its location. Now that is odd. This is not the kind of thing I would expect to find on George.
Have you seen this before?
It's a good question. Have I seen this before?
Give me an occult roll.
Alright. As always, I need like 30 seconds to find the skill. Oh yeah, that is a 45 versus 45, a success.
Unfortunately, and you've dealt with, extremist groups and cults and that kind of thing, you haven't actually seen this sign before. And you're confident that you've never come over it before.
Yeah, like it's familiar enough that I know it's something occult, but I don't know what it is. That makes sense. And yeah, I'll just shake my head. No, I mean, it fits with a dozen other cases I've seen, but I've not seen this.
You probably get the impression that with that success, it looks like it's common to kind of like Elizabethan era magical wards.
Oh, okay. Take note of that.
But you're not quite sure if it's older than that or not, but because those wards were all kind of influenced by strange things from the past, so it's it's not something you've seen before.
Yeah, even with that slight inclination that it could be like an Elizabethan ward, I don't think that's something that Bosco would like know how to quantify. But he'd point out like, well, I mean, pentagram with an eye in the center. It's obviously a cult. Probably old.
Does the tattoo itself look like it has been recently done? Like, is it still kind of red, or does it look like it's been there for a while?
Give me a medicine check, I'll say.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to tell, I don't think. Yeah, that is a 95 versus 1. That is a fail.
I too only have a 1. It's a 21 versus a 1 fail.
Look, it's not.
Let's hope we don't get sick.
It's not faded out or anything. It's not blurred, but it's hard to tell how old it is. It could be a few months. Could be a few years.
Right. So it doesn't look like he's gone and got it done in like the last couple of days, at least.
It's not scabbing or anything.
Or as far as my 1 can tell. Yeah.
Older than 15 days. All right.
Yes.
Anywhere between 10 years and 15 days.
Exactly. You've narrowed it down to that window. At this point, Kim McNatt, the captain, enters the morgue. She says, "All right, how we doing here?"
Bosco will look at Thea.
Well, the suspect has a strange occult tattoo, and again I'll shoot a look back at Bosco, and seems to have attempted to remove his fingerprints.
Yeah, we noticed that. Obviously was planning this for a while, I guess. But it's definitely this George Lewinson guy.
Oh, it's George.
Okay.
I would still say, that I know it's callous, but his daughter should do the official identification, not me. Yeah, we'll notify her. Probably might be good to bring her in for some questioning to see what she knows. I'll get on that. In the meanwhile, he had some personal effects too. They're all in evidence if you want to have a look. Yeah. Have you done a check or anything on him recently? I'm sure you guys are spinning on this pretty quick. What's he been up to recently? Is there somewhere else we can check that out? You got a file while we look at evidence?
We've just sent some officers over to his home. They're going to see if anyone's there. Kind of need to get on that right away.
Yeah, all right.
But beyond that, no idea what he's been up to. Maybe his daughter will have some insights. And she begins leading you back out through the rain and back to the police station. And as you enter back into Cleveland PD, she looks at you, Theo, and says, "Listen, I've set you and Agent Bates up with a temporary office just next to mine over there. She's just getting set up. I think she needed you for something." She points over to where you can see Lucy Bates getting set up in an office.
Thank you, Captain. And I'll head off that way.
And as Theo walks away for a moment, she actually pulls you aside, Bosco, Kim McNatt. She says, well, listen, I could really use you on this one, Frank. You know this guy, you know where he hangs out, you know his people. maybe you could find some leads on this.
Yeah, well, I'm here now, and I'm certainly not looking to walk away from it. I mean, I'm in so long as you are willing to share information. I mean, I know I'm a consultant now. I'm technically retired, but, nothing redacted, right?
Right.
All right, then I guess I'm part of the team. Is this my new partner? Like, shakes his head towards Theo as they walk away.
Yeah, he says, I believe so. What do you think of her?
Good instincts. Definitely observant. Let me ask you this, though. And Nicole, I apologize. Bosco's just kind of a bastard. Let me ask you this, though. I mean, how green are they? They seem fairly young. No judgment there. I mean, they could be incredibly talented. What the hell do I know? I'm just an old man. But how many cases like this have they been on?
That is a good question. Nicole, how green is Theo?
So I think Theo would have been with the card team for a few years. She's lifelong career, even though she's not as old as Bosco.
Yeah.
But I think, this is probably definitely shaping up to be the weirdest case she's taken. A lot of the cases they would have taken would have been, familial abductions and, nasty stuff like that, but nothing quite as strange from the outset.
Kim just looks at you, Bosco, and kind of leans in and says, well, worked with Lucy Bates before. She's one of the best, so if she's handpicked Bloom for this, then it's good enough for me.
Yeah, well, with that recommendation, I'll take it. All right. You know how it is. You just gotta wonder if the person you're standing next to is gonna fuck things up. And, like I said, Bosco's an old bastard. I'm sorry that I'm being mean. As a player, I'm sorry. As a character, it's just how he is. But I'll take your recommendation. She
just nods. Theo, as you walked away towards the office where, you walk away to the office where Lucy Bates is getting set up. Yeah, you see her there setting up her computer and getting things in order.
You wanted to see me, boss?
Huh? I mean, I guess I didn't ask for you, but.
Look, I'm probably going to shoot a look back down the hallway at that point. Are the other guys still there?
Yeah, you could just see them chatting closely and quietly.
Look, I'll assume that they obviously had things they wanted to talk about in private, so we'll just kind of shake my head at the ruse, I guess. But step inside the office anyways. Kind of fold my arms and go, well, this is already shaping up to be a pretty strange one, boss.
Yeah, it's not, it's unusual. Hey, actually, while you're here, the Balfours are still here. The parents. I think maybe you should speak to them.
Has anyone approached them yet?
Oh, yeah. They've been speaking to some detectives and grief counselors, but I guess now that we know this Lewiston's involved, maybe they know something about him.
Hey, the bag from the video. Do we have that?
Not sure. Maybe it's in evidence. And at that point, you see Kim McNatt and Frank Bosco walking actually towards the office that the two of you are in, and Kim McNatt kind of waves to gesture you over.
Yeah, join them.
She says, so evidence? It's this way.
All right, let's have a look at the evidence, and then after that, I want to interview the Balfours.
Balfours are here? Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So Kim leads both of you down to evidence, tells the officer working there to get the evidence from the Balfour case. And yeah, he brings out this box. There's a few things in evidence bags. And he pulls them out and places them down. And there's no backpack, but there's a handgun, a taser, a watch, and a burner phone.
Where's the bag?
Huh? What bag?
The bag from the CCTV.
Oh, the backpack? Oh, yeah, it's the little girl's. Her parents had that. We had a look in it. It was just her things. They've got it back.
Did anyone take note what was in there?
And she looks over to the evidence guy. And he sort of rummages through some notes. He says, yeah, was a little bit of food, yogurt, and some kind of medicine, I believe.
What kind of medicine? Write down the name of the script?
Yeah, he explains it was like a respiratory steroid pump inhaler.
That might explain why he went back for it. But that's also assuming that he knew this little girl's medical history.
It's a safe assumption to make. He had to have gone back for it for a reason. I mean, you're not going to rush back to get yogurt. They're in a store. Had to have been for the medicine. It's a good call there, Agent. Bosco will pull on some gloves and probably pick up the weapon first to check to see if it's like the service piece or if it's a gun that was bought privately.
Yeah, it looks like it's a Glock, but it looks like it was bought privately. It's not a service piece, but it's the type that ATF officers would use. It's so something he's familiar with.
Does it have serial numbers on it, or do they file that off? Like, is it a burner gun, or is it like a proper handgun?
It still has a serial number on it.
Yeah, just write that down.
Seems like it was his personal gun. Yeah, and there's the taser, the watch, and this burner phone as well.
Anything take your interest?
Well, I mean, my first thought is that if he's involved with Balefors, they're known to have weaponry, at least when we looked into them a couple of years ago. Figure, they're not going to have anything on the books, but this piece is fairly standard. Maybe we should check the phone. Otherwise, I mean, a taser, you could buy a taser anywhere in Cleveland. Saw one in Bodega the other day, and laughs at his own joke.
Yeah, so, I mean, you grab the burner phone with your gloves on, and you go to turn it on, it still has a bit of juice.
I mean, the first thing he's going to go to is the last series of phone calls recently dialed numbers.
Yep. As you look through it, it has no texts at all, no saved numbers, but there's a number of calls to and from just one number. And it only started 3 days ago, so 3 days prior to this abduction. And it's another just random cell phone number.
Yep, write it down. And show the note to Thea and be like, or Theo. Sorry, I keep fucking that up. Well, we might want to run this up. We could probably check in a database, but I'm sure it's going to be another burner phone. But they've only made one call back and forth, so it's got to be somebody involved.
Yeah, Thea's going to nod.
Yeah. There's a few calls, but it's just to this one number. Yeah.
Have you ever had any direct contact with the Balefors before?
Not personally. I mean, I've heard of them. They were tertiarily involved in a case several years ago that I'd, again, was consulting on, but I've not personally met them or know much about them. I do know that they're involved with, not quite terrorist action, but what could be construed as that. Militant type. Religious nuts.
Each of you, both Theo and Bosco, give me a flat intelligence roll, please.
That is that's a success for Theo with 65 versus 80.
Excellent.
And it's a fail for Bosco, 62 versus 60.
Yeah, I think, Bosco, you're busy jotting down this number. But Theo, you're like, well, maybe you can look up at some point, although you're sort of getting sidetracked, but maybe look up ATF files, if there are any, that you can get your hands on about the Balefors.
Look, I think that's probably not a bad idea to actually pull up what's on file if we're going to go and have a chat. The other thing is that I will, I guess I'll pull up my phone and show Bosco the weird website with the little timer.
Wow. Well, that's something.
What do you make of this?
I mean, look, all these fanatics, they all have their own little ideas, right? What's his name? Nostradamus. They all seem to have a fixation with Nostradamus, right? So surely there's some reason that, although that timer is disconcerting, 5 days, 8 hours, 30 minutes.
Yeah. The website as well also shows, beyond, this belief that the biblical end times in year, it also talks about, like, the persecution, the ongoing persecution that the church is faced by the government and how they want to sort of peacefully overthrow the government to replace it with a Christian theocracy. And you can also buy a book explaining their orthodoxy as well for just $29.95 over PayPal. You can buy the book of the Church of the Passover Angel.
I mean, I'm actually impressed with this GitHub website here. Like, flipping through it, I'm like, nice work, whoever put this together.
It's so good, yeah. Just to break the fourth wall, some very lovely person has actually put together this resource, an actual website for the Church of the Passover Angel that you can use as a resource. It's great. It's really well done.
Oh, it's perfect, perfectly unhinged.
Yeah, I think back in character, Frank, like, probably, immediately he's going to go to the About Us and looking it over. It's like, devoted to total submission of the will of God and his herald. Yeah. Certainly seems like the types who could cause some harm. And this is the Balefors. Again, looking back at Theo.
Yeah, I'm just going to nod.
Bosco, as you're just quickly perusing this website, can you give me a research roll?
Okay.
Library use, please.
I swear to God, every time I look at this character sheet, I forget how to read. All right, library use. That is a 40 versus 20 failure.
Probably because you've got the Balfours still up in the interrogation room, giving statements and being questioned. There's probably other things to do, so you shut down the website and leave it for now. And also the Theo's suggestion to follow up on getting those ATF files about the Balfours as well.
Yeah, all right. Bosco's going to look at Theo and kind of drop any pretense and be like, look, seems like we're going to be working hand in hand on this case. I guess you're my new partner. I'm your new partner. You come highly recommended, I'll say that. But I'm not, you may have noticed, I'm not the best with people, so maybe when we talk to the Balefors, you take the lead, yeah?
Yeah, Theo is just going to sort of smile and nod at that. Probably look him over a bit appraisingly, but yeah, still be pretty polite.
Yeah, dirty old leather jacket, flannel shirt, hasn't shaved in 3 days. not the most presentable guy.
Well, should we have a look at those records?
Yeah, I mean, seems better to check the records before we talk to him. But maybe let's call down to those detectives and have them offer them some coffee or something. Keep them around a little bit longer so they don't run out on us while we're reading.
Yeah, I agree to that and probably issue a, not a demand, but certainly a request to one of the officers around to do exactly that.
Yeah, no problem. Kim McNatt is kind of helping you out with the local PD side of things, so she goes off to make sure the Balfours are comfortable and make sure whoever's been looking after them is providing them with water, coffee, whatever they need, while the two of you jump into your office to find out if you can get your hands on this any ATF files that might be on the Balfours. So yeah, I won't require a roll for this because it's easy for the FBI to make a sort of request, but perhaps it's extradited by Bosco's knowledge of the ATF themselves. So it doesn't take too long for you to get sent back the ATF files on record about the Balfours, which I've just shared with you now, if either of you would like to read it out.
The ADF has noted that the Balefors have legally purchased a small number of firearms and has investigated them on several occasions in the past to see if they have any illegal ones. Each time they've come up empty. However, the Balefors have known church membership, including a cadre of known white supremacist, militia members, and survivalists, many of whom have illegal firearm-related convictions. One name that keeps coming up as a connection, and a known associate of the Balfours, is Johnny Zero Zivovich?
Zivovich, yeah.
Zivovich, a survivalist with a long history of vocal anti-government protest, but no major criminal record. ATF records also indicate and reveal that there is a well-hidden underground bomb shelter in the woods behind the chapel.
The chapel is on their home property. And this guy, Johnny Zivovich, or Johnny Zero, is, his name comes up in relation with, sort of freedom rallies, anti-lockdown protests, even January 6th, that kind of stuff, but he doesn't have a major criminal record.
I mean, reading through that, Bosco's just gonna look at Theo and be like, I'm getting a lot of Waco, Ruby Ridge vibes from this. Not particularly comforting, I'll say. But of course they have a bunker. Who doesn't have a bunker?
None of this is really giving us any leads for why someone would want to kidnap the child, though.
Well, they've got their countdown, right? Could be somebody trying to accelerate that, or somebody trying to stop it. I don't know. One cult versus another. It's always hard to say with these... I hate to use the term, but nut jobs.
Is that your professional analysis?
Bosco, give me a psychology roll.
That's a 92 versus 40. That's a big fail.
No problem. Yeah, we'll just leave that thought there, lingering. But yeah, you now have sort of perused these files, have a bit more of a picture of the Balfours. If you're ready to go question them, as I mentioned, they're still here, being comforted by counsellors and questioned by some law enforcement personnel.
Yep. Let's do this. Probably gonna grab a coffee myself, and head over to the room where the Balfours are.
Of course.
Yeah, Bosco just falls one step behind on this. He does the gruff arms crossed, I'm here for appearances act, and is gonna fully let Theo lead this. It's certainly more their expertise than his.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, you walk into the interrogation room and you see the Balfours before you. John Balfour is young and kind of handsome, but quite stern. He gives off this intense energy. John Balfour, he's probably mid-30s. Mrs. Balfour, maybe a couple of years younger. You see, it's got red eyes, long blonde hair, and makeup's kind of running down her face. She's been crying. She's nursing this coffee. She also has a black eye and a broken nose from being kicked in the face by the abducted George. She kind of looks on the verge of a nervous breakdown. And, she is holding in her arms this Ladybug backpack. But first, can I get an appearance roll from each of you, Theo and Bosco?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, shit. 19 versus 50, hard success.
That's a 50 versus 60 for Theo, which is a success.
Great. Nice one. Both of them kind of look up at you warmly. So you see a glimmer of hope in Sarah Balfour's eyes. She says, you're going to find our daughter, right?
Look, Theo's just going to take a seat and put her coffee down and just say, we are doing everything we can to piece this together right now. I am so sorry for what's happened to you, but if it's all right, I'd like to ask some questions.
She kind of looks to John Balfour and he says, well, I don't really know what else to tell you. We just want our daughter home safe.
I understand that, Reverend. But we're having a hard time piecing some things together. Let's start. My name's Theo Bloom. This is my partner, Frank Bosco. Firstly, we would like to know whether you think anyone has any reason to cause your family harm or take your daughter.
John Balfour looks a little angrily at you. He says, no, I do not. Why would anyone want to do harm to a little girl?
World's not always a great place, as I'm sure you're aware.
Demons everywhere. Mrs. Balfour, Sarah Balfour looks up and says, look, we need to find Regina. She's sick. She needs her inhaler. She won't survive without it.
That is why we have to work quickly.
And John Balfour says, so then why are you here asking us more questions?
As I said, Reverend Balfour, we need to work quickly. We need to find out if there is anyone out there who might be motivated to harm you or your family.
Anyone out there? Of course there's someone out there. And they're still out there. So you'll forgive me if I'm not exactly happy to be here. I should be out there finding my daughter. As should you.
We have officers scouring the streets, and we have all our resources dedicated to this. If you don't mind, Mrs. Balfour, could I have a word with you alone?
John kind of looks at her a little angrily, looks at you. But given your success on that appearance roll, I'm going to say she lifts her hand up and says, yes, okay. And John Balfour kind of folds his arms and gruffly kind of stands up and sort of looks around, sort of opens up his palms facing up and is like, well, where do you want me to go?
Yeah, well, don't stress too much. They're just gonna have a polite conversation. We're gonna do the same. Tell me a bit more about the government coming after you. I'll say it's not the first time I've heard it, but you seem to have some real conviction behind that. Let's just go next door.
And yeah, he comes willingly with you as you lead him out of the room and perhaps into the second interrogation room next door. But for the time being, Theo, you and Mrs. Balfour are left alone.
I'm assuming that, again, she's received medical treatment. I'm assuming that even though she's obviously, taken injuries, that they've actually been, taken care of.
Yes, of course.
Again, I'm probably just going to, reach out and, see if she'll let me, take one of her hands.
She doesn't move away, but there's not, a warmness to her, receiving your hand in hers.
Mrs. Balfour, I'm sorry for the questions that I have to ask, but I really am going to do everything I can to get Regina back safely and as soon as possible. Let's start with what happened in the store. Can you tell me about the events in the lead-up?
Sure. So, we were just shopping, and this man just came out of nowhere. I tried to stop him, but he took Regina. He could have gotten away, but he came back, tried to get a backpack, and then he got Regina out of there. But then he came back again, this time with a gun, and that's when I managed to get away.
And you didn't recognize this man at all?
No, I'd never seen him before in my life. No.
May I ask, the medication your daughter takes, is it a daily dose?
Yes, she has a chronic illness. She needs it pretty much all the time.
All of this is useful for us. Can I ask whether everything is okay between yourself and your husband?
Give me a persuasion or charm, please.
Okay, it's probably going to be persuade. That is a 56 versus a 66. So that is a success.
Great. Yeah, she makes eye contact with you and she says, of course. He's my husband. I'm his wife. I love him dearly. I've sworn myself to him. In this life and in the next.
I understand and appreciate that, Mrs. Balfour, but it wasn't exactly what I asked.
Will you ask me if everything is all right between us? Of course it's all right between us. I don't know what any of this has to do with Regina.
As I said, I'm just trying to piece together the picture here.
You can tell that she's speaking honestly about this.
So I assume that you fully support your husband and his church?
Of course I do. We're a religious family, a traditional family. Our faith, our church, our community, it's everything to us. Are you religious, Miss Bloom?
No.
No? You said your name was Theo.
I am aware of the irony, as it might appear.
So you are aware of Saint Theodora?
Tell me about her.
She was the brother of St. Hermes. She stood by him when he was imprisoned and killed for his faith. So by that account, I guess you could say she was a good woman. Of course, we're Protestants, so the veneration of the saints isn't really, well, I believe that all believers are saints, whether here on earth or in heaven.
I'm going to pull out the phone again and, like, kind of, you know, open up the website, put it in front of her and say, what can you tell me about this timer?
It's a timer, of course.
Sarah, what's it counting down to?
His return, when righteousness shall be returned to the earth. The rapture.
The rapture. Are you telling me that you believe we have 5 days till the rapture?
Yes. It is what we all believe.
Look, at this point, Theo is probably going to lose a little bit of a veneer. Like, she's going to seem a bit, you know, visibly frustrated. And she'll sigh and say, well, I guess we better get a move on. Are you sure there's nothing else you can tell me? Nothing that has happened in the last couple of weeks? No altercations at your church? Nobody arguing with your husband or yourself?
No. Nothing.
Sarah, if there is anything that you can tell me that might give us a lead here, please.
Give me one final persuasion.
Alright, that is a 5 versus 66, which is an extreme success.
Oh man, we're here for it. Look at that.
She says, no. Look, people in the past have tried to take her away, claiming neglect, claiming abuse, but they didn't have the right, and we got her back. It was all religiously motivated.
By religiously motivated, you mean that you suspect that
They didn't like our church.
your membership of the church was the reason why they wanted to take Regina?
It's the reason why they tried.
Alright. Thank you for your time and for your answers.
You're gonna find our daughter, right?
I'm going to do my best. Theo will kind of stand and gesture for her to stand. And say, look, I think it's time for you to go home and get some rest. Please, if you do think of anything or if you see anything, if you interact with anybody that you think might help us out here, please call me, and I'll give her my card.
Yeah, no problem. She takes it from you and stands up and begins trying to, adjust herself, picks herself up, tucks her hair back behind her ears, and then goes to leave. We'll cut over to what was happening in the adjoining interrogation room with Bosco and John Balfour. As he sits down, and sort of a little brazenly sort of throws his arms up, expectantly, waiting for you to take the lead.
Well, I mean, like I said, you do have a militant view of what's going on with the government, so why don't you explain to me why the government, of all things, and look, we both know how ineffective the government is. I work for the government, and I can assure you. Yeah, as a larger body, not so efficient. When they decide to do something, get it done, but the rarity of that is, it's It's a dart throw. So explain to me why the government has done this to you, how they are out to get you. I'm all ears.
Where do I even begin? Give me a fast talk, please.
Where's Jack when you need him? Fast talk for Frank is a 5. So that is a 63 versus 5, a fail.
Listen, I'll just say this, Mr. Bosco. The world is going into a new world order of disorder. On one side, you have the tyrannical power elite with the money and the weapons. And on the other side, you have the oppressed, the Marxists and the Islamists. And no matter which side of these end up in power, the outcome will always be the same. The attempted destruction of the opposition. I think the world is heading into a great time of disorder, and I think you know it. What we've been seeing so far in the Middle East, in North Africa, in Russia, is just act one of a long drama. And we're seeing it here too. Our leaders are weakening America through her unions, letting drugs and narcotics into our streets, pornography, humanistic teachings, and our schools and universities are stating through their news media that the U.S. Constitution is outdated, it's antiquated. But the Word of God, which the U.S. Constitution is based on, is not antiquated. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever. While he's saying this, Bosco, you see a fly actually flies down onto his face. A single fly was buzzing in the interrogation room and begins to crawl across his face as he looks at you speaking, and he doesn't make any effort to swat it away. And he says, are you a religious man?
I was raised so. First Baptist on Macon Street? Yeah.
Well, good. Then you would know that back in the days of the Egyptian Exodus, the Israelites were aware that the eyes of God were always constantly upon them, judging their actions and their righteousness. And he actually looks up to the camera, pointing down on the interrogation room. He says, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's funny like that. God's judgment is coming, and you should be at peace with that fact.
Oh, I came to terms with my end many years ago. I am at peace with who I am and what the world is. But there's something you're forgetting as you work through all this. You're talking about 2 groups. Now, what about the third? That I'm sure you would count yourself in. And boys like me. Normal people. Just coming up trying to do their best, God-fearing folk. Folk who live their best lives and do everything they can to not offend their neighbor. Now again, I know you count yourself in that. You're not these politicians on the Hill. You're not, the ones raised in the floodplains. You're just gonna be raised, right? In the rapture? That's the belief. So where do they all fit in?
I'm just a herald of God's judgment. I don't control or wield it.
It sounds like you got enemies on both sides. And either of those enemies could have taken your daughter, right? So let's say it wasn't the government. What about, you, same as me, being this third group? What about that second group? Those who will bring down the judgment, could they have wanted to inflict harm on you as a herald?
Maybe. Maybe.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then... I mean, I've got a lot of work to do. I've got 2 groups to look into, and one of them's gonna be a little harder than the other, but... there's gotta be somebody over the years who's come after you. Now, if there's one thing I know, I worked 20 years with the ATF. It's that the government is far less efficient than the people who want to rep the government. So there's groups out there. You say the government's after you. It's much more likely that other groups who want to represent the government are who's after you. Maybe that's that second group. You got any enemies like that?
The only one who's come after me in the past has been the ATF. So...
well, maybe they made some mistakes along the way. From the way I understand it, you've, at every point, proved yourself to be an upstanding citizen. Am I wrong? Sips his coffee.
I guess so. Listen.
Look. Yeah, alright, I'll listen. You talk.
the word of God is going to clean out the human soul from all these false doctrines. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. So I guess we'll see where you fall in a few days, Mr. Bosco.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the good news is that I'll be right alongside you. But, here's my concern. You want to keep preaching to me, and I appreciate that. You're a man of beliefs, but your daughter's out there somewhere without her medication. And, should she be raised in the rapture coming in, 5 days, 8 hours? I haven't checked the website in the last hour or two. She's still alive. She'll join us, right? But if you don't give me something so that I can help her and I can find her, she ends her life without the blessing of God. Now she's going to hell, right?
If you really want to find her, you should be looking at those closest to you.
Those closest to me.
You're an ATF man. How do I know you guys didn't take her?
Well, I won't bullshit you. I mean, I didn't take her, obviously, but, listen. I'll follow up your leads. I'll look into my own, I won't call them brothers, some of them are bastards. I'll look into them. But you know that's not the only lead. And every minute that you sit here trying to push me on one side, you are denying a possibility of finding your daughter. We both know there's more out there than the ATF looking at you, my friend.
Give me a, persuasion or intimidation.
Okay. I'll go with intimidate. I think I've been enough of a bastard to roll intimidate. 69 versus 40, that is a fail.
He says, I just want to find my daughter. Somehow you're in here questioning me like I've done something wrong.
Yeah, well, look.
If there's nothing else you have to ask me, I'm going to get out there and find her myself.
Alright, fine. If there's anything I can impart on you in this last moment that we're going to speak together, I do not think that you have done something wrong. But I don't doubt for a second that the reason your daughter is missing is the life you live. And I would advise you not to raise up your little militia and go looking for her, because nothing but bad can come from that. And with that said, I'm gonna do everything I can, and my partner, well, they're the one with the heart. They're gonna do even more. So we're gonna find your daughter. But I appreciate this talk. And stands up.
Remember, God's eyes are always watching. He stands up.
That they are, as he opens the door.
And yeah, both John Balfour and Sarah Balfour convene in the hallway, and he, with an arm around her, leads her out as they go to rush out of the police department.
I think Bosco, approaches Theo with a smile. I hope that your conversation went better than mine.
Well, it's not every day you find out you have 5 days till the end of the world.
It's not every day, but it's at least once a month.
So he gave you nothing?
I mean, he knows something. He knows he has enemies, and he talked about some of those enemies, but he seems pretty fixated that it's us. Well, not us, it's the ATF, it's the government. Pretty hardly clung to that. Regardless of obviously knowing he has more enemies than that. What about you?
Not a lot, but it does seem like at a certain point we did try to take Regina from them. I think we should look into any child custody case against the Balfours. Mrs. Balfour, of course, said it was religiously motivated.
I mean...
But that might explain why they're a little hostile.
Yeah, well, I could see that. I mean, if DSS came out, and certainly ATF has investigated them a couple times, I can see how they're hostile.
Do you know whether George was a primary investigator in any of the cases against the Balfours in the past?
Do I?
You looked at the files that you got from the ATF on their investigations, and no, he was not a part of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's Bosco's response. To my knowledge, no. I mean, in this region, They've been mentioned once or twice in the last couple of years, but I don't think George was directly involved with any of their cases.
All right. Well, the only other thing is that medication she takes, she needs it daily.
Daily?
So if somebody out there knew enough to try and grab that bag, maybe they'll do a run on a pharmacy.
Oh. All right. Did she tell you exactly the script or what the condition was? I mean, that's definitely a lead. That's something we could follow up. So, certainly somebody without a script has tried to get a hold of that in the last day or so.
In that interview, we did not talk about it, but I thought I thought they'd taken a note in evidence.
They had taken a note in evidence. You know that you can also try and access the medical records, probably. If you're also trying to access any sort of court records, you could probably access the medical records of Regina Balfour as well. Get a better detail on the exact medication.
Yeah, so I'd say let's pull up some medical records and take a look at this court case.
Yeah. I'm going to say that you guys, as you sort of head back up to the office to speak to Lucy Bates where she's there, you can debrief her on what you found and begin investigating these avenues. But that's probably where we're going to leave this episode for now.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll jump into that next time.
Well, I'm certainly hooked in. That was a hell of a build up.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. It's only been a couple of hours. Ooh, and already pretty spooky. Well, I will see you all next time.
Yeah. See you guys.
Bye.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Please like it. Or if you're listening on any of your podcast apps, also make sure you subscribe and follow. It helps other people find the podcast. Bye-bye.